Today we're talking about this one. Not much light here. The Separation, book number 32, and another Rachel book. It's the one with the starfish. This one has quite a reputation amongst the Animorphs fans, and I dare say not a particularly good one. It's considered filler, a bit absurd and silly. Is it? Yes, but let's get into the reasons why, shall we? This one, as far as I can tell, looking at Seripedia and the start of this book, is not ghost-written. This was actually written by Catherine herself. So, for the first time in a while, apart from Elfangor's Secret, we've got a non-ghost-written book. And to be perfectly honest, it was hard to tell. It really was hard to tell. This book is a struggle. It really is a struggle. What happens? Okay, so we start off at the beach. They're on a field trip somewhere. It's Rachel. And she drops an earring into a pool of water. And she decides, because she's impulsive Rachel, and she's never learnt a frickin' lesson, that she's going to morph a starfish on a beach with loads of people around in the middle of the day. She's going to morph a starfish, a morph that she's never used, that she doesn't know if it has the capability of finding the earring. And, oh my God, it just gets off to the worst possible start, doesn't it? So that happens, she morphs starfish, thankfully nobody sees her, and she goes into the pool, and fortunately, how convenient, she basically immediately finds this earring. It makes you wonder why couldn't she have just reached in? How deep is this pool? Who knows? The starfish, right, it takes a long time to move, and the way it's written, it's almost like she morphed, she got into the water. Oh, there it is. Dearie me. But yeah, she finds this earring, and she pulls it back out, but what do you know? Some random kid with a spade comes along and just fucking chops it in half and then saunters away like a little demon spawn. Like little demon Cassie. Maybe it was Cassie, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. But she's now split in half and she's panicking and she demorphs. Now what happens here is she demorphs into two separate people. Okay. I mean, I get it. Starfish cut in half. I'm not sure how a starfish's brain is, whether it's not like an octopus where, oh, there's that hearts in each leg, whatever. But yeah, what happens is she demorphs, but she demorphs into two people. And for whatever reason, these two Rachels are exactly the same, except that certain facets of their personality are different. It seems relatively arbitrary and convenient for the plot at the same time, which personality traits are split, because there's a lot of other stuff that could have been split, like the ability to speak language. No, they've both got that. The knowledge how to do daily tasks and do that stuff and, I don't know, put clothes on. That's all intact. It's just things like aggressiveness, timidness, and the ability to plan ahead or plan in the short term. That's split. Those are the only things that seem to be split in these two characters. And that's where the plot saunters on. So these two Rachels, the book is split narrative-wise between mean and nice Rachel. That's how they're addressed. That's how Marco addresses them, and that's how they continue to address them throughout this book. Split between those two, and for the next few chapters, it is a case of these Rachels going around and the other animals seeing these Rachels and being like, what the hell's going on? Mean Rachel goes with Tobias, and the way it's written, she's very aggressive, she's very in the moment, in the action, and she goes and kills a fish, just straight away, morphs Osprey, Golden Eagle, kills a fish, while nice Rachel goes off to see, well, she has like 3 whole chapters overall in this book talking about who she thinks is cute and who she wants to go on a date with. That's like a third of this book is her moaning about that. But she's really timid and she doesn't like morphing, and she sees Cassie and they go into in the shopping mall, and she bumps into some mean girl who yells at her, and Rachel runs off crying. Cassie's like, what have you done with the real Rachel? And then mean Rachel comes to the shopping mall and basically threatens this other girl with a knife, and then just ends up pinning her down with knives against the surface, but saying, I like how you're a mean piece of shit, so I'm going to let you off on this one. Yeah, mean Rachel lets mean people off the hook and likes to punish nice people. Apparently that's just a facet of Rachel's personality. One of the big things I notice about mean and nice Rachel is mean Rachel talks in a very straightforward way and it's relatively easy to read, but then you come across nice Rachel and the way it's written, the word like is thrown into the middle of practically every sentence, sometimes twice, and she ends most sentences with a question. It's the typical Cali teenage girl sort of thing. I'm gonna like go to the shop and I'm gonna like buy things. And at first it's like, oh, that's quite humorous, but after about 20 pages of it, you're like, please stop. This joke's gone on far enough. Anyway, the Animorphs reconvene in the barn. They find out, oh shizer, there are two Rachels, and they quickly find out that one is extremely aggressive and one is extremely timid. And they're trying to figure out what on earth has gone wrong. And then, this part. Let's start reading on page 37. This is a bad one, right? Marco fidgeted. I have a body joke here, but... Shut up, mean Rachel snapped. Don't make me kill you. Now you, little girl, you have about 3 seconds to tell us. Don't threaten, Jake said with unmistakable authority. Mean Rachel forgot me in a flash. We're talking from the narrative of nice Rachel. She rounded on Jake. Don't get in my way, Jake. Don't push it, Rachel. Are you threatening me? She nearly screamed. Come on, you think you can tell me what to do? Let's go, right now, you and me. Just keep our pet Andalite here out of the fight. You and me, we'll see who's giving orders around here after I give you the butt kicking you're begging for. And at this point, I'm actually bracing myself to see how Jake is going to react to this unbelievable situation. I was thinking, shit, it's going down. What is going to happen here? The possible fight was interrupted at this point by the arrival of Eric King. What the fuck, Eric? Fuck off! I braced myself for this moment to see how Jake could react to this situation, which was just unbelievable. And you come fucking sauntering in. I fucking hate Eric now. Deprived me of what could have been a brilliant moment in this book. And Eric walks in and everything's fine. Fuck off. Fuck off. I was genuinely angry at that. That just... Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I am. But I've grown to really like Jake, and seeing how he reacts to these little things in the group, and you throw a big moment like that at him and you fucking... It's... Yeah, way to go, Eric, for ruining what could have been a classic scene. What a way to just tarnish that scene. Really. It's awful, 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 awful. But yeah, Eric comes in and he has news. Thanks, Eric. Thank you, mate. He says, oh, there's a BRI Institute, I forget what it stands for, and the Urks are making an anti-morphing ray. Yes, there's an anti-morphing ray now. How does it work? Why? How? Where? Who? Why? We don't know. We just don't know. Eric comes along and says, there's an anti-morphing ray. Oh, there's two Rachels. Bye. What a tosser! And then Jake has the brilliant idea of sending both Rachels home. Yes, Jake. Mate, come on now. I've loved you so much, but this is one of the stupidest things you've done. Oh, we've got two Rachels here. Just send them home. What can go wrong? It's not like their parents will care. What? And these two Rachels just end up at home yelling at each other. And how the fuck does nobody realise that there's two of them? How? How the Jake, what are you doing, mate? But anyway, the Animorphs... Jake says to the Rachels, you're not coming on this mission, we don't know what's going on. Thank God, Jake. Why didn't you say this to David back in the other book? Back in 20? Why didn't you say, you're sitting this one out? Like he's doing with the Rachels here. Unfortunately for Jake, he doesn't anticipate mean Rachel deciding she wants to join the fight because she's extremely aggressive and all she wants to do is kill, kill, kill. every other chapter that she's in, she's saying, I'm going to kill person A and person B and person C, D and E. She wants to kill everyone at any given time. She never follows through with it, at least not for the most part. She kills a fish, and she tries to kill a cat. She tries to kill a cat. The cat gets away. So the Animorphs have gone off to this mission, and then Rachel flying to this place, and she's there late. An alarm starts going off, a fire alarm. And she's thinking, oh, the fight has started. I want to get in and kill some things. I want to kill everything. And she sees that the only way in is a big truck entrance. And there's a truck just there. So she comes down, morphs grizzly, throws the person out of the truck, gets in and starts driving the truck. It's one of those car loaders. Drives it into the door. The cars fall off and make a hole in the thing. She goes through and starts driving a Mercedes convertible. Yes. She drives this thing inside. There's a bunch of Hork-Bajir there. She knocks one or two of them into bags of Doritos or something. Typical cartoon capers sort of thing. And then she joins the fight. We never actually see the fight. We just see another alarm goes off and the Animorphs are now in there getting attacked by these Hork-Bajir. And then we skip to the next scene. So we don't see what happens there. There's a little bit, I mean, there's a famous bit from this book amongst Annie fans where her arm gets lopped off and she picks it up and just clobbers the Hork-Bajir over the head with it. That's all we know. I know people love that bit. Oh, the bit where Rachel hits the Hork-Bajir with her own arm. We never saw it. She just said it happened. And can you trust this character? I don't fucking know. I suppose you can, because she hasn't got the forethought to lie about these things. Oh dear. So yeah, we skip that big battle. Turns out that the Animorphs' plan was originally to set off that fire alarm to distract the Yeerks, because the Yeerks are idiots, and go in and destroy this anti-morphing ray. We never see it. And then Eric comes back and says, later on, okay, now they're moving the anti-morphing ray, and they're moving it tonight, so you got to follow it, but they're in 3 different trucks, and only one of them has it on, so do what you will. Oh, Rachel's still 2 people. Okay, bye. Twat! Oh, Eric, please stop. But the Animorphs decide that mean Rachel is too much of a liability, and nice Rachel is also a liability. There's this whole little subplot going on in here whereby nice Rachel is so traumatized by this whole Animorphs thing that she just has to tell her father. She has to tell father. So she calls him and she thinks she's being sly by saying, oh, I have to meet you in person and talk to you in person because I can't say these things over the phone. So she's saying all this weird shit and she's not very focused, and her father's just like, okay, what's going on? Are you on drugs? And she said, no, silly, I am totally, not on drugs, but you, have to come over. Fuck. And so he agrees to come down. And then, I believe, after the mission at the BRI thing, mean Rachel comes back, sees that nice Rachel has gone, sees a note on the board to say that she's meeting the father at the airport. So she flies out there. At the airport, nice Rachel has called the father over. I forget the father's name. What was his name again? Do forgive me. I believe the mother's called Naomi. I can't remember what the father's called, so yeah, forgive me for that. But she's there talking to him, and she's about to blurt everything and tell him all about the alien invasion, but then she sees mean Rachel behind the father, and she runs off crying. Ah! And then mean Rachel sits down in her place, starts yelling at the waitresses. Dad gets upset. And yeah, the father's like, what? I fucking had enough of this, and saunters off. And nice Rachel's not very happy. Anyway, they meet up at the barn again. Mean Rachel is very upset because she's spying on the Animorphs as they're having these meetings, and she hears Marco call her a psychopath and how they don't trust her, so she demorphs and starts threatening everybody. The Animorphs are prepared, they morph their battle morphs, and she tries to attack Jacob's tiger, and she's just sort of bouncing off of him and eventually tires herself out. And they restrain her. Well, Axe knocks her out. Bosh. And I'm quite... One of the small positives of this book is seeing, again, how Axe is developing. Because remember the last book where he ended up torturing Chapman at Jake's whim. And now, a couple of times in this book, Jake just nods at Axe and he does the dirty work for him. He's becoming that sort of like the beta of a wolf pack. So you've got the alpha who's just the one in charge. And the beta is the big bulky one who does all the dirty work and sorts out all the underlings and the omegas. That's sort of what Axe has become at this point, which is not unwelcome. Sort of makes sense. I dig it, I dig it. Axe is beholden to his prince no matter what his prince says. I like it. Cool. Anyway, Mean Rachel's knocked down. And Jake is saying to Nice Rachel, you need to join us on this mission because there are 3 trucks. There are 6 of us, with you included. So we're going to go on this thing. Everybody needs backup. And she's like, oh, no. But she does eventually go. And they find these trucks. And they separate. So Jake and Nice Rachel on the same one. And there's this whole thing where they land on the roof of this thing as owls, demorph, and she's panicking the whole time. And then he says, we need to morph to cockroach. And she said, oh, I'm not going to do that. He said, right, there's a tunnel coming up that's not big enough. If you're human, you're going to get scraped off the top. And I was reading that, I'm thinking, firstly, how does he know? Secondly, why would a truck go through a tunnel that's like... It's possible, I suppose. But funnily enough, Jake had been lying the whole time and Nice Rachel wasn't able to see that because she wasn't thinking properly. Is that cool, Jake, that you lied in order to do that? I'm all right with it because you needed her to do it. You need to bring her on this mission. You need to build her confidence with her morphing. So I'm sort of okay with it. But anyway, they enter this weird tunnel thing and then they get hit by some pesticide gas sort of thing. And then when they wake up, they're in little boxes, these little tiny cube things in a Yerk chamber somewhere. Pfft. And there are Hawk-Bajir walking around that they can see with their cockroach eyes. And she's panicking, oh, this, that, and t'other. And he's trying to sort her out. Now, I appreciate Jake's character here. The things he's saying, I think he's doing a relatively good job of trying to calm someone who is just uncalmable and unreasonable. He does all right, Meanwhile, Mean Rachel wakes up, and because they haven't restrained her properly, she flies out and finds them. Just, funnily enough, spots them on this truck as cockroaches driving to this facility, wherever it may be. Apparently the anti-morphing ray's in this truck. Not that we ever see it. And yeah, by the way, it was Eric that told them about it, so it's probably not actually there, you know, whatever. She goes in, disguises herself, she morphs and disguises herself as a Hawk-Bajir to walk into this facility. Why there is no security, I don't know. Why these Hawk-Bajir can't recognise that, hold on, we've not seen this guy before. I mean, I know that humans probably find it hard to tell them apart, but you'd think other Hawk-Bajir would be like, who the fuck are you? What are you doing here? Yeah, she just walks in, hangs around for a bit. There are these little boxes with all these bugs inside, and she's thinking, I'm going to kill Jake for restraining me, and I'm going to kill Nice Rachel because I simply don't like her. And then there are 3 of the Hawk-Bajir there, and it's implied the sort of action that goes on here. So she slits one of their throats. So that's the first one. She does that, slits throat. Another one charges, foot out, gut rips. Hence why she then refers to, fucking dust. That's why she refers to that Hawk-Bajir as gut rip. And then there's another one who charges her, and she said bye bye chin. So I imagine she ducks, sweeps, and I reckon there's more than the chin that went off. But that, I gotta say, that's one of the most violent scenes in Animorphs up to this point. Is it not? Am I wrong? She's just cut the throat of a Hawk-Bajir, ripped one of their guts out, and chopped most of, if not all of, this other Hawk-Bajir's head off. And yeah, it's came as a surprise in such an absurd book. Hold on, that's a really brutal scene. But then again, it is Mean Rachel, and she's got no sort of empathy or restraint on her, so makes sense. Still very brutal. One of these little boxes with the bugs in it smashes. Rachel thinks that she stepped on one, that she's killed them. So then we're just left with nice Rachel and mean Rachel. And then suddenly, I mean, we're on page like 130 by this point, and I was thinking up to this point, oh, another book without Visser 3. Cool. It's 2 in a row. And no, he shows up. He's just there. The wall opens up and there's Visser 3. Ah ha ha! I have you now, Andalites. And there's a bunch of Hork-Bajir there. Gut Rip runs out and Visser 3 just kills him. I mean, I understand it because he's a bit of... He's like your typical dictator, Visser 3, so if you're injured to the point where you're not going to be useful anymore, it might as well just end you rather than waste medical resources, so it's probably why. But yeah, he's there, and he's doing his old mustache twirling, and the walls start closing in. Apparently they build facilities of that capability. We'd never know what they're in. They're just in a room, a dark room with red. Yeah, that's what starts happening. And then Mean and Nice Rachel are talking to each other. Mean Rachel doesn't want to kill her because she knows that she's got bigger fish to fry. And they start talking to each other. And they come to the conclusion that Nice Rachel has the foresight to have come up with a plan, and Mean Rachel has the capability of pulling it off and getting in and doing the dirty work. So they work together. Yay! And now they see how important to each other they are. And the plan goes thusly. So, Mean Rachel is in this room, and she says, these Hork-Bajir blades are good, I wonder if I could kill myself with it. So Visser 3, being the nitwit he is, stops the room from closing in on her, opens the door again, and that allows Nice Rachel, who's now morphed Fly, I believe. Yeah, Fly. And she flies out. Nobody cares to notice a fly flying out. And lands on the Visser. And she says, fooled you now, Visser, because I am in your head, and if I demorph, you will die. And the Visser's like, oh no, how could I have not foreseen this predicament? What? And they say, you have to let us go if you don't want us to kill you. And he's just like, okay, you can go. You go now. Bye. Fuck me. And then there's the last scene where the two are combined again. And the way they do this is by holding on to each other, acquiring each other, and then Eric electrocutes them. And now they're Rachel again. And that's the end of the book. Am I going to? No. It's one of the. It's almost hitting the floor. It's almost hitting the floor. There was that really egregious bit near the start with Eric. But let's talk about the ins and outs of this book, shall we? First point, let's talk about that end scene with Visser 3. What is going on now? How does it work with ThoughtSpeak? Can you tell what direction ThoughtSpeak is coming in? It's never been established that you can tell what direction ThoughtSpeak is coming in or where exactly it's come from. If you're further away, it becomes fainter. We know that. But Nice Rachel, Mean Rachel, whichever one it was on Visser 3's head hair and told him that she was inside his head, and he believed her. Now, when you're... How does he know? What makes him think that? Because she's not actually in there. All she's done is told him that, and he's believed it. Does that not make you think then? The Animorphs in future now just use that tactic every single time that he's nearby. Oh no, the Visser's attacking. Oh Visser, we're in your head again. Don't make us angry or you'll go push. Whoa. Just keep using that now. He's obviously too much of a divvy to figure out that it's a lie. He just lets you go. No harm done, off you trot now. Oh my God. And did he not account for this? How many times has the Visser seen the Andalites work Solo. One. He's got this one Andalite bandit in this room, and he's just like, aha, I have you now. Not that there's going to be any other Animorphs around. What? Not even he is that fucking dunder-headed. What a clown. What an absolute clown. What is this plan? They've got Bugs in there, and they've got Hork-Bajir there. Rachel just saunters in as another Hork-Bajir, willy-nilly, no security required, gets rid of them. Visser 3 opens the door, and they let her fly out, and they pretend to be in his head, and he just lets them go. What a stupid fucking plan! What is this? Awful, awful, awful. But I suppose we come to expect that from Visser 3, but this is one of the worst cases. You know, he's had stupid moments in the past, but some of them are vaguely forgivable. This one's just, it's Mr. Bean. He is Mr. Bean. He is Laurel and Hardy, amalgamated into one. But there's something even more unforgivable here, ladies and gentlemen. Something even more unforgivable. Eric. He's back again. He's 32 now. He's been in every book since 25. He's been there or thereabouts, and he's had his impacts. Firstly, I don't know how his electrocution thing combines the Rachels. It's just, oh, we need to end the book now. Electrocution, that'll do. Pull the electrocution card out, there you go. Sorted. Sorted. But no, something even worse than that, right? How many times now has it happened where Eric has come up to them saying, this thing is happening tonight or specific date X, you need to go there. And what happens? The Animorphs fall into a trap and Visser 3 is there. Book 20. This banquet is happening on specific day Y. They go there. It's the wrong day. Visser 3 is there, yelling at them. Book 27. You have to go down to the ship underwater. They get there, and there are the Yeerks, right on cue. Book 28. Go to You get my point. Once is unlucky, twice is coincidence, 3 times. You're taking the piss. How many times has he just led the Animorphs into a trap where Visser 3 just so happens to be there? How many times now? In the space of what? 12 books? I can count at least 3. 20. 27. 28. This one, 4 times. A third of the last 12 books. The Chi have led the Animorphs into a trap. This isn't coincidence anymore, is it? Something nefarious and sadistic and naughty is going on in the background here. Too many times. It's a pattern. It's a pattern. And when there's a pattern, there's a reason behind it. The Chi. When does Jake turn around and say, right, we've seen this pattern now where everything the Chi tell us ends up with us looking Visser 3 in the face in some sort of precarious situation? When do you add 2 and 2 together, Jake, and say, we do not trust this guy anymore unless he comes with us and goes in first like a little canary into a mine? We're not going with you. God. Right, let's talk about this book as a thing, shall we? The writing is fine. The nice Rachel thing gets very grating, as I mentioned earlier, with all that, oh my God, like, I'm totally like, I can't think of a fucking thing to say, but you know what I'm trying to get at. That got old pretty fast and pretty annoying. The book came across as a Red Dwarf episode. Have you ever seen Red Dwarf? It's a sci-fi comedy. A really good sci-fi comedy. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. It is British, but I do think a lot of people in the sci-fi community will have seen it, or at least some of it. Really good comedy. And this is the sort of storyline I'd expect to see in Red Dwarf. There's one major problem though. Red Dwarf Didn't really rely on logic too much. It had a lot of flaws in its logic, but it made up for it in its comedy. It was a comedy. This book had a couple of titter-titter moments, but overall it wasn't very funny. So it was like watching an episode of Red Dwarf, where there's just this random sci-fi plot where the logic's a bit dodgy and whatever, and it ends quite abruptly. But without the comedy, which just makes it worthless. I understand why the book is trying to do what it's trying to do. It is completely absurd, and we have had a lot of hard-hitting books lately that I think Catherine tried to lower the tone a bit. Fair enough, but it goes too far, and it doesn't really work. The main concept behind this is Rachel split into two. Two different Rachels on the opposite spectrum of certain personality traits. And I don't think it works. I really don't. I think when I was reading it, I felt like it was cheapening her character, that her character can be divided into these two extremes glued together. I think there's a lot more nuance to the Rachel character, and all that nuance just felt like it was taken out of her, and it's just these two character traits that are glued together. That's just me. That's how I felt while I was reading this book. I felt like Rachel's character suffers from this book, and her character was suffering enough already. She's probably the least developed character in this series up to this point, and then this book happens. Something about it just didn't feel right. I don't think it was done the right way. I think it would have been incredibly hard to do this one the right way. It's a bit like time travel, where very rarely it pulls off. It's pulled off in a decent way, and I don't think this was it. I'm sorry. Anyone who's a fan of this book out there, it fell flat for me. I wanted it over. A lot of the books, especially over the last, well, from probably about 16 onwards, a lot of them I've been unable to put them down. I love them. I read them through. I got about a third through this one. It's just like, is this over yet? How many more pages have I got to go? It was just a bit tiresome. And I've listed the reasons why. What do I give this book in terms of score? Okay. You can probably tell which way this one's going. Jake's leadership. Well, apart from the really egregious bit, he was okay. Oh, by the way, he did survive being crushed under Rachel's foot. He just hid there until they were out, because Jake wanted to see how they would work together. So, yeah, actually, that's points against him, because you're just going to leave these two people who you've already decided are not very good for these missions, and you're just going to step back and let them take control in this life or death situation. Jake, what are you doing? There's a time for experimenting. Not now, when Eric has led you into another Vista 3 trap. Okay? The bit where he sends both Rachels home thinking everything will be okie dokie was a bit shit. Apart from that, he was all right. But yeah, two egregious mistakes there. He's getting a 3. A 3 out of 10. What about the book itself? Oh, is it as bad as The Underground? I gave The Underground 3 out of 10, and that book went down on the floor. This one did, but for a very specific moment. The actual book itself is not. It's close. It's close to being a book on the floor. The Sickness, I gave 5. The Sickness is better than this book. So it's a 3 or a 4. Ooh. There's one thing that is going to push this up to a 4. And that is the rest of the characters. If you take the Rachels out of this book, the other characters are on point, on form, and I think they are really good. Really good. I like the interactions of the other characters throughout this book. If it weren't for the Rachels, this would be a good book. But unfortunately, that's the main plot point. So it gets a 4, but only because of the supporting characters in this one. Only because of them. If it weren't for them, this would be fucking down there. Yeah, a low 4 out of 10 for this one. Not as bad as The Underground, thank God. Which was, let's face it, offensive in every way conceivable. So yeah, thank God that's over. The next one is The Illusion. And that's a Tobias book. We last saw him in book 23. So that's going to be fun. If you like fan fiction, I do it. And this is one of them, The Interrogation. I'm currently proofreading and editing all of my work, which is taking a long time because there's a lot of it. So I'm currently editing one called Seer, which took me 3 years to write and is about 220,000 words long. So it's pretty long. So I'm currently editing that, and then I'm going to be proofreading it. So there's a lot of fan fiction stuff going on in the background. If you want to read fan fiction, it's in the link below. I will eventually be doing audiobooks of them. So if you prefer to wait for that, be my guest. I will probably move on to that shortly after I finish reading the series. So this is, oh yeah, remember the Animorphs Discord, go check that out. It's a blast. Better than this. Better than that. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time, I suppose. Ta-ra!